What's going on, young people? Thanks for joining me for our second lecture on motivation, emotion, and personality. Today we're going to continue talking about what motivates people. Specifically, we're talking about hunger and thirst and sex. Okay, so this is part of motivation. We're going to talk about what makes you hungry, how that impacts you, thirst, and then talk about sex research. So the first thing I want to take notes on are the three causes of hunger. Okay. So back in the day, the first researchers to really study hunger, two folks named Cannon and Washburn. Cannon and Washburn. And they did this wild experiment to see how the stomach related to hunger. Okay. But what they did, if you look here, they actually had participants swallow a balloon that had the capability of measuring the stomach muscles contracting on that balloon. Okay. And then what they'd have the participant do while this balloon was in their stomach, they'd have the participant push a button when the participant felt hungry. So then they were able to create this graph where they could tell when the balloon was contracting because of the stomach muscles and when the person felt hungry. They lined up the graphs by time, and what they discovered was that their theory was that stomach contractions cause hunger. And what they found was that there was a correlation between stomach contractions and when people feel hungry. These things were lined up. Now, just because the contractions were lining up with the feelings of hunger, does that mean that contractions cause hunger? Just because there's a correlation, does that mean that one thing is causing the other? Not necessarily. And here's what they discovered, that people without stomachs who had a stomach cancer, their stomachs were removed, they still felt hunger, which means it's not the stomach causing the hunger. There must be something else going on in the body that both makes the stomach muscles contract and also makes the person have this feeling of need, of hunger. So where in the body is hunger coming from? Well, researchers discovered that the hypothalamus, I told you all earlier in the year, Unit 2, get high for the hypothalamus. It's so important. It deals with metabolism and sex regulation. It deals with hunger. It controls hunger and the opposite of hunger, to feel full, to feel satiated, or satiety. That's the fancy word for fullness, right? Something that is saturated, is full. When you have satiety, when you are satiated, you are full. So there's two parts of the hypothalamus. Put a star by this point. Two different aspects. The lateral hypothalamus, the lat makes you fat. And here's what I mean by that. The lateral hypothalamus is the part of the brain that makes you feel hungry, okay? This mouse on the left, they activated its lateral hypothalamus a lot. So it always felt hungry, so it kept eating, okay? On the flip side, if this gets destroyed, it makes you hungry. If this gets destroyed, you'll never be hungry. You can starve to death because your brain just never realizes that you need food. There's a different part of the hypothalamus that does the opposite. The ventromedial, it makes you feel full. It makes you feel satiated. Here's this word again to write down, okay? So a mouse that has the ventromedial active will always feel full. If the ventromedial is broken, it will never feel full, okay? So a mnemonic for you to write down off to the side. The lat makes you fat. That's nice, meaning it'll make you hungry, you'll eat a lot. Whereas the VV ventromedial, the VM hypothalamus, VMH, it is like vegetables. It makes you skinny, it makes you feel full, okay? Lat makes you fat, and the other one, the ventromedial, it makes you feel full, satiated. Now, there's a third thing that can make you feel hunger, chemicals, okay? The third thing is chemicals in the brain and the body, all right? So there are three chemicals that make you feel hungry. Everyone say ghrelin. I don't know why I'm doing that. You're on a video. You're not going to say it. I know, that was stupid. But ghrelin, I say ghrelin gets you growling. See what I did there? Ghrelin gets you growling, meaning it makes you hungry. Insulin prepares your body to take in food. People who are diabetic, they need insulin. It's to help them with their food. Orexin also makes you feel hungry. I say orexin, it's like a T-Rex. It makes you hungry. It makes you want to eat, right? Now, we have some chemicals that make you feel full. They do the opposite. So if I put glucose into your system into your blood, you're not going to be hungry because your brain's going to be like, I got enough sugar in me already. Same thing with leptin, which is a fat hormone. Something called PYY, or as I think of it, pie, right? If you have a lot of pie in your system, you're not going to be hungry. You're going to feel full. CCK, I don't have a good mnemonic for this. Let me know if you come up with one, but it also makes you feel full. And then adrenaline makes you feel full. That's like right before a big match, when you're in the middle of a game, you don't get hungry, like in the middle of your theater performance. When you finish the game, when you finish the performance, you might be starving because while you had that adrenaline flowing, your body didn't want your digestive system working, so it made you feel like you were not hungry. So these chemicals make you feel full. These make you feel hungry. Come up with some clever mnemonics for these, okay? So how does this impact your body weight? Well, there's a theory called set point theory that says your body has an ideal weight that it likes to be at. It's almost like your body has like a thermostat set at a specific weight. This is caused by your genetics. You inherit it from your parents. So think about their body type, okay? You inherit a genetically caused set point where your body likes to be at. And unfortunately, if you gain a little bit of weight, what your body does is it speeds up your metabolism to try and get you back to that set point. And if you try to lose weight, then your brain will make you more hungry and they'll lower your metabolism so that you get that weight back up to where it's used to being, okay? This can make those of you who are athletes or have tried to diet for some reason, it's tough to gain and lose weight permanently, right? Now, while you're in puberty, while your body is growing, and those points, your weight's going to change, right? But when you're static, especially when you become an adult as you get older, sometimes it's really tough to purposefully, intentionally make large changes in your weight because your body type, your body weight, your body type, it's genetic and it has a weight that it likes to be at, right? So for me, for most of my life, I've been like between 150 and 160 pounds. Like when I got my driver's license, like back when I was, 15, 16 years old, like that's the weight that was put on my driver's license, 160. And for the last 15 years, I've been basically around 150 to 160. It's hard to change your weight that much. It's also because your metabolism is fairly constant. This is also inherited. It's genetic. It's hereditary, right? The rate at which your body turns food into energy. Other things that impact you, you can inherit what's called the obesity gene. If you have a hormonal disorder, illness, something like diabetes or a thyroid problem, or let's supposed to say pancreas, that's hilarious. A pancreas problem, right? These impact your body weight as well. And all these things can be health concerns or passed on genetically, okay? The one thing that's not genetic is your culture. So different cultures have different ideas of what people should look like, what we see in the media, what's considered a social norm, what's considered normal, right? In some cultures, thin is preferred. In some cultures, thin is not preferred. Different cultures have different diets in terms of meat and vegetables and starches that are locally available. So society you grow up in also does impact your body weight and also how you are perceived, okay? In general, social media has been bad for people's understanding of their body image because what we see in the media in general, what we see in Hollywood and on TV shows and the YouTubers that y'all are watching, right? They typically do not have average, normal body weights and body types. But your brain sees these beautiful celebrities and thinks, that's what I'm supposed to look like. We don't look like that. But your brain has trouble understanding that because social media is really good at tricking us into thinking we should look different than we do. So really interesting things that we need to be aware of. So going along with hunger, thirst is pretty similar in the sense that it's about drive reduction. So there's an internal imbalance, like we talked about in the last video, that your body is trying to fix and regulate. Also the hypothalamus at work there. And I actually learned, it's kind of cool, that there's two types of thirst. So there's one type of thirst. If you eat some salty potato chips, it's like the saltiness levels in your body, your cells get thrown off balance. We call that osmotic thirst, like osmosis. Like your cells want the right levels of these substances and chemicals and nutrients, right? But there's also something called hypovolemic thirst. This means your volume is low, right? Hypothermia, low volume. Hypovolemic, your blood volume is low. This is like maybe after you've been sweating a lot, it can mess with the water levels in your body. And in both of these instances, your body will have a drive. You'll want water. You'll need a Gatorade to fix the nutrients or the lack of fluids in your system. And that's how your body lets your brain know, hey, it's time to change your behavior. So see if you can answer these questions. See if you can do these from memory, okay, about these 6 chemicals. There is a crash course video about body weight and body image. So if you're interested more in those topics, that's definitely a good one to watch, okay? It's linked in this PowerPoint, and it'll be on e-class. You can just search crash course as well. So first part of today's class about hunger and thirst. I want to quickly talk about sex. Let's talk about sex, baby. Masters and Johnson are these 2 researchers. Don't they look just like sweet, nice, old, someone's grandparents? Read this sentence. They created what's called the sexual response cycle. They had the theory of how the body responds to sexual activity by observing numerous volunteers' sexual activity. Yeah, they had people come into their lab, men and women, couples, single folks, and engage in various sexual activities. And they watched. In some cases, they participated. And they measured different things happening to individuals' bodies as they went through these sexual encounters, okay? Really bizarre research, right? They look so innocent, but creepy research, okay? What they found was that there are 4 things that happen in an individual's sexual response cycle. The first stage they called excitement, okay? When someone's engaging in a sexual interaction, their arousal increases. So this could refer to sexual arousal, but also just refers to like brain activity in the way that we've used it previously in this unit, okay? Blood flows to the genital region, okay? The second stage is called plateau, where the sexual excitement kind of levels off. The third stage is orgasm. What they said was the most important stage of the sexual response cycle. And they did research into the fact that women are what we call multi-orgasmic, meaning women can have multiple orgasms, although they are less likely to experience orgasm. Whereas men have a single orgasm, and then some time has to go by before they can experience orgasm again. Okay, so the 4th stage is called resolution. It's sort of when the heart and breathing and body and brain all get back to normal. And for men, they have what's called a refractory period, an amount of time that has to go by before they can go through the response cycle again. We've seen this phrase refractory period before. We talked about it with neurons. We said that when a neuron fires, it has to kind of recover. Some time has to go by before it can fire again. That term refractory period, same idea here, okay? Some time has to go by before it can fire again. All right, so here's some graphs for you. All right, let me zoom in, very old school. All right, so we have a couple different men, a few different women here. So the excitement stage, we have arousal increases, okay? And in the plateau stage, things kind of level out. It could be solid or some variation here. And then we have a few different situations here. So orange man experiences orgasm. So we have an increase in arousal. And then what's this called? The refractory period, a little bit of time that has to go by before they could experience orgasm again. Red guy apparently does not experience orgasm. You don't always go through all 4 stages of the sexual response cycle, okay? Down here on the bottom, we have 3 different women, excitement, plateau. So we have a woman who experiences single orgasm, woman who experiences multiple orgasms. We have a red woman here who does not experience orgasm. And then take a look at the resolution. This is interesting, okay? What the Masters and Johnson research showed was that for the red individuals who do not experience orgasm, their resolution stage actually takes a little bit longer than the folks who did experience orgasm, okay? Meaning the amount of time it takes for their body to get back to normal is a little bit longer for those folks, okay? So this is called the sexual response cycle. Why do people have these sexual encounters, these sexual interactions? Well, you know about the sex hormones, testosterone and estrogen. I'm pretty sure that y'all learned about this stuff in other classes, so you don't need to write down if you know all about it. At this point, the pituitary gland is the part of the brain, right? HPA, the hypothalamus controls the pituitary and the adrenal glands. The pituitary gland is what sends hormones, testosterone and estrogen, to the gonads. So testes and ovaries, biological male, biological female. This creates the sensation of arousal that leads to these sexual encounters and interactions. There's also some really interesting cultural research that the AP Psych curriculum wants you to acknowledge that, if we talk about social learning theory, people learn from things like pornography and things like explicit scenes in movies and shows. how they are expected to act sexually, and that impacts people's brains and attitudes about sexual behavior and interaction, which can actually be pretty dangerous for folks. There's also an evolutionary component. There is a difference between what men and women prefer when it comes to sexual activity. And there's also different things that people find attractive. So evolutionary theory is the idea that men and women have different evolutionary goals, right? Men have an evolutionary goal of spreading their genes as much as possible, because there's really no limit to their reproduction and the number of children, babies they can have spreading their DNA, right? Whereas for females, with a limited number of eggs and with a 9-month gestational pregnancy period, women have to be more careful about what they're looking for in a mate. So evolutionarily, there's actually some interesting research about what men and women prefer. So think about this question. When you end up getting married, would you rather marry someone older or younger than yourself? So let's say that you want to get married at, I don't know, for some of you, it's going to be 22 or 26 or 30 or 35. When you are the age that you want to be when you get married, are you going to want to marry someone who's a little younger than you at that point? Someone who's a little older than you? Okay? Answer this question. We'll talk about it in class, what the evolutionary theorists say the right answers are. And then here's another question for you. Of these 6 traits, which 3 do you think are most important when you are thinking about a romantic partner? Okay, so there are 6 options here. Choose the 3 that you're like, my partner, my mate has to meet these 3 characteristics or traits. Okay, we'll talk about in class what the evolutionary psychologists say are the right answers for you. So pause it if you need to. I'll see you guys in class. Just a quick check for understanding. You should be able to answer these questions without looking at your notes. We'll talk about them more in class. Peace out.